some freedom. Another thing that I want you to do is get in the habit of having some money tucked away. I want you to have some money put aside. Because when you do that, having cash saved is vital for the Entre leader to survive. And saving in a business, you and I know, it's called a retained earnings. On the personal financial side, that's an emergency fund. In the business side of things, it's retained earnings. That means we brought in some profit, we have some things that we have to take care of, the fixed expenses and variable expenses, and then of the profit, I'm going to tuck that aside for a rainy day. Like, you need to know the ebbs and flows of your business. Like, for example, what's your downtime? What's the time of year that things slow way down for you? You need to know that. And not only just know it, but we got to plan for it now. If you know December and January and February are slower months for you, what are we doing here in May to make sure that you have something to offset that slow time? What are the things that we need to be doing from a business development standpoint to make sure that December, January, and February aren't as slow in 2015, 2016 like they were 2014, 2015? And so it's just all a matter of having a game plan, being very, very clear on what you're going to do and why you're doing it. And so the next thing is I want you to stay very much in control of your lifestyle. I had a realtor that I worked with out of California, and he got in this habit of just eating out. And it got to the point that they were eating out a lot. We sat down and worked on his budget. He's a realtor. He was trying to grow his business. And come to find out, they were spending $3,500 a month eating out.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
He had no idea. When he added it up, he said, "Chris, this can't be right." And I said, "Well, go back another month and add it up." That one was $4,200 that month. He said, "Can we just go with the $3,500 one?" I said, "Dude, do you know you could hire a chef for $2,400 a month? You could get one cheaper than that." And it was this mindset of he had no idea. And remember what I told you earlier talking about the disc? It's hard to manage anything you're not aware of. So we have to become aware of some things. So I want you to make sure that you keep your lifestyle in check. Like, too many people celebrate, a $500 raise with a $700 car payment. You've been there, you know. And so you look at it, the business things tick up a little bit, and you bring in an extra 10 grand, and lo and behold, you buy this piece of equipment that's 30 grand. And so you start to look at this and you realize, yeah, I got to keep lifestyle under control. Like, I need to be smart about it. And here's the key. My wife and I started doing this about 4 years ago. We make 2-year decisions. Here's what I mean by that. We try to make decisions today that we're going to look back on in 2 years and say that was a smart decision. And see, when you do that, what happens is you raise your eyes up from where you are and you start to look at where you want to be. And see, then you start to make those decisions. And here's the deal. It's all a matter of sacrifice. I don't know anyone that's gained any kind of success that didn't sacrifice at some point. And I also don't know anybody that achieved success that got there all alone. And so be mindful of those things, those 2-year decisions, 3-year decisions. Do that not only on the personal side, but in your business. Make that kind of investment in the teammates to get the right people on board so you can do the right things. Too many owners, as I talk to them, are counting on selling their business as their only form of retirement plan. Like, that's the only thing. They're not doing anything on the personal side of building wealth for themselves because they're counting on the business selling as the golden ticket. And that's dangerous. It's very dangerous. 2 reasons. Number one, you go all in on the business like that and you're not saving on the personal side. You create too much risk on that business. That's when you get desperate. That's when you get panicky. That's when you chase trends that I told you about earlier. The second side of it is you start to think of it, and maybe you want to give the business to your kids. Like, maybe you want to be a blessing and toss them the keys. But see, if you're counting on selling the business as your retirement plan, you can't toss the keys to your kids. You got to toss them loan documents. And now all of a sudden, now they're making a payment to you for buying the business. And so what if the business doesn't go well? What if it doesn't run? They don't run it like you do. I mean, so you need to understand you have to take care of on the personal wealth side of things to make sure you're preparing for retirement. I mean, Dave and Sharon, for example, they have stayed focused, diligent on building their own wealth. That now, with the business, when they're ready to toss the keys to me, was that out loud? Did I say that out loud? That was a thought. I apologize. When they, I'm kidding. I'm joking. They've been very intentional with the kids, talking to them about the business, and when they're ready, and if they're able, taking over the business. You see, Dave and Sharon won't have to sell the business to the kids. They'll actually be able to hand the keys to them when the time comes. See, that's called being intentional. That's called being focused. And that's why with the RIQ, the Retire Inspired Quotient, that's why I came up with that tool. I wanted people to be aware of how much are you going to need to be able to retire to live the dream you want to live. Like, what's the number? And when everybody would hear this number, what's the number, what's the number? And people were like, Chris, I have no idea what I'm going to need. And see, you got all the investment people are like, bring us your money, right? And then you're like, well, I don't know if I trust them, and I don't know what's the number. And so I decided, I sat down with Dave, started talking to him a couple years ago about this, and then sat down with some web guys last fall and said, hey, here's what I want to do. I said, everybody's used to budgeting, right? They know how much is coming in each month and what they want to live on. I want to take that premise and develop a tool to help people understand how much they need for retirement. And so the first step of the tool is to plug in how much do you want to live on per month? Whether it's $3 grand, $4 grand, $5 grand, whatever it is. The next step is plug in how many years do you want to retire? So you put that in, 10 years, 20, 25, whatever. And then the last step is to plug in how much you currently have saved for retirement. And with that, it will do a calculation to let you know. Are you on track? Are you a little bit behind? What are some things you need to do? And see, it's all a matter of starting with the dream. And so even as business owners, even as leaders, what I want you to hear me say is, don't count on the sale of the business as your only financial exit. It creates too much risk on the business. So be smart. Act your wage. I love that. Dave started saying that a few years ago, and it just caught on. Act your wage. And so some of you have friends that are making a whole lot more than you. Don't try to roll with them and do what they do. It's too dangerous. Right? The next thing you know, you're looking up, and all it takes is 5 minutes of stupid to bring on $100,000 of debt. And so what I want you to do is play defense. Play defense for your current reality, but I also want you to play defense for your dream. Like, be careful. Don't go all in for today. Be very, very smart and intentional about how you're living. The last one is, I want you to be generous. Being generous is the hallmark of very successful people. Always keep that spirit about you. Whether you hear about that customer or someone on your team that's in need. For example, I had a business owner, he worked out of Arkansas, and he had a teammate, it was a heating and air company, had a teammate that was out on the road doing work for him. Well, his teammate's wife called him and told him their heating and air conditioning unit went out. And this is in the summer, okay, and it gets hot there. Well, here was an opportunity for this business owner to be generous with the teammate. So what he did was installed a new unit while his teammate was out on the road. I mean, that was a way for him to be generous and kind to a teammate. And so regardless of that, look for opportunities in your community. I'm going to tell you, being generous is a spirit thing. It's not that you're trying to do it to get attention, but my gosh, what do you create when you're generous to someone? A raving fan. You create people that are going to talk about your business and talk about what you do with this attitude. And so you start to look at that and start to realize doing these things will protect you. And speaking of protection, my boys, they love to ride their bikes. And nowadays, do your kids wear like body armor to ride a bike? Like, it's crazy. My kids had on a helmet, shoulder pads, knee pad, shin pad, ankle pad. And so my boys came to me, and my wife, she was with some friends, and they said, hey, Daddy, we want to ride our bikes. Can you get our helmets down? Well, they caught me on a roll, right? I'm like, listen, when I was your age, I sound like my grandpa, right? When I was your age, I didn't wear helmets to ride a bike. When I wanted to ride a bike, guess what I did? I rode a bike. And I looked at them, I said, do y'all know how to ride a bike? They were like, yeah. I said, then go ride a bike. And the middle one, he said, so we don't need a helmet? I said, look. He said, Mommy said, I said, Mommy's not here, okay? Hold on, wait for it, all right? I said, Mommy's not here, I'm running Vegas, right? Go ride your bike. They're gone 20 minutes. Come back. Oldest one, holding his head, crying, screaming. Okay? I said, Tyson, what happened? He said, Brock bumped into me, made me wreck. I fell down, hit the curb. I said, okay, well, lay down, let me go get an ice pack. Brock comes in a few minutes later, he goes, Daddy, have you seen that knot on Tyson's head? I said, no, it's just a knot. He goes, it's big. So I said, Tyson, move your hand. He moved his hand. I went, oh, dear God, it was massive. Okay, it looked like a little person trying to grow out of the boy's forehead. And I said, okay, we got to get the ice pack on this because the mom was coming home in about 45 minutes, right? We got to get him healed up, right? I'm pressing on the boy's head trying to get this. Listen, I got to get the knot down. Wait, hold on. I got the ice pack on it too, right? So my wife comes in, and she's coming in. I hear the garage door go up. I'm like, oh my. I was like, Brock, go do something. He's like, no, I want to see what mommy says when she sees it. Well, if you don't get out of this family room, I'm going to push you in. He goes and plays. My wife's coming up the steps with the bag. She's got her some stuff. And I go over to get her to guide her into the kitchen because I don't need her to see this just yet. The knot hadn't gone down. So I get her in there and I said, oh, honey, tell me about your day. And she goes, who are you? I go, no, what'd you buy? Show me. She goes, hold on. And Tyson, by this time, my wife's in the kitchen. So all of a sudden now, he's lost both legs in this car accident, this bike accident, right? He starts to go, oh. I'm like, really? My wife said, what's wrong with Ty? I said, oh, he just had a bike wreck. He's okay. You know how boys are. It's no big deal. And she goes, well, oh, he sounds hurt. Let me go see my baby. I follow her in there. He sees her. Of course, now he's more injured. He's got an ice pack on his head. She goes, well, let me see it. He takes the ice pack off. She sees the knot. She goes, oh my gosh. And she looks at me. I look at him. And she said, Ty, this knot is right where your helmet would have been. I'm looking at him. He's looking at me. And she said, Ty, did you have your helmet on? He's looking at me. He goes, no. She said, I've told y'all to wear your helmets just for times like this. Why didn't you have the helmet on? By this time, he's ready to throw Daddy under the bus, right? I don't even get a chance to admit to what I've done. Tyson, he goes, Dad said, Brock by this time is back in the room. Brock said, Daddy said we didn't have to wear those helmets because he's the man of the house. I can't get on to him because I got to defend me, right? I said, I didn't say all that. I said, they didn't need to wear the helmets. I said, listen, they're just riding their bikes. There's no sense in having body armor. I said, listen, if they could keep their balance, they'd be okay. Then I start reaching. I'm like, look, they 50% your kids, maybe it's your DNA causing them that. Don't do that. Yeah, that's not good. Don't do that. So I get in trouble, right? As the leader, I'm responsible for those boys. Looking back on it, I could have protected them by giving them the very equipment they needed to ride the bikes the right way. So they could be protected just in case. And I'm